Hello, I'm Joy Macknight, Managing Editor of The Banker, and I'm joined by Matthew Davies, Head of Global Transaction Services, EMEA, and Global Co-Head of Corporate Sales of GTS at Bank of America, to talk about developments in the transaction banking space. Matthew, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Great to see you.
So it's been a couple of years since we've caught up outside of Sibos, Swift's user conference, with this year is going to be in Boston. What have been the major challenges that corporate treasurers are facing over the last couple of years?
Well, I think it's a tale of the usuals. Where they're still confronted with an uncertain macroeconomic environment. There's also low interest rates, particularly the negative interest rates. There's a significant challenge there for treasurers just in terms of where do they put their euros. But in addition to all of those sort of BAU macro economic themes, I think cyber risk and cyber security, that's traditionally been the domain of the technologists within the company, and the treasurer would traditionally think, well, that's someone else's problem. But actually, the ownership of those risks and issues sits very much at the front line of the business, and I think that's occupying a lot of time with treasurers. The other, I'd say, significant development over the last few years is evolving business models within companies. And if you look at any industry that you care to choose, such as automotive, and the future of automotive, the major car manufacturers, most of them think they won't be just making and selling cars in the future. They'll be providing a service. And as their business models evolve, their banking needs evolve. They need to be able to deal much more directly with consumers than they ever have in the past. And then the final thing I would say, kind of linked to that, is just the rapidly evolving technology environment and the overall digital transformation that many industries are going through, which, there's a lot of consideration there for treasurers around, what is the best practice technology that they need to be deploying within their treasury organizations.
Well, let's pick up on that point, actually, because obviously there's a huge technology wave and a lot of new emerging technologies are coming into play. How can corporate treasurers really sort of look at that and think about how they can bring this new technology into their treasury environment?
There's a lot of topics that we've been talking about for a number of years around artificial intelligence, robotics, use of blockchain technology. These are still very current. And it can be challenging to navigate that. There are so many different players in the market and a lot of niche capability. So if you're a treasurer trying to find what's best for you, because one size does not fit all, that can be the challenge. And I think banks have a role to play in helping companies navigate that quite complex space. And what we often find is corporate treasurers like this niche capability of this particular provider, but they don't necessarily want to deal directly with that company. They would much rather have that service provided under the umbrella of their core relationship bank, which has been very much front and center of our strategy to partner with fintechs with core capability that is complementary to our own platforms and provide those services to our clients under that relationship umbrella. And that seems to be very much what corporate treasurers are looking for from their banks.
Okay. And my last question is really about future challenges. What do you think will be sort of top of the treasurer's mind in the next decade?
I think this theme of technology change and getting the best in breed approach, which, by the way, the open architecture of a lot of these new technologies, the API enablement of a lot of these new technologies allow you to have a best-in-breed solution. You don't have to get one solution that does everything quite well. You can get actually niche components that do that thing extremely well, but in a more open architecture approach, particularly with banks that choose to partner with those fintechs and bring those solutions to market. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the next 10 years. And the final thing, two things: cyber risk and security. That's not going to change. If anything, that's just getting more and more challenging to stay on top of. And we spend a lot of time working with clients and advising them in terms of cyber threat. And then the final component is really around ESG. There isn't a single client interaction that we have that doesn't involve some element of ESG. And when you just look at the investor base, look at where investors are demanding greater ESG focus, and companies are having to respond to that as well. And we spend a lot of time advising clients on how they can help the wider objectives of their company from an ESG perspective, whether that's sustainable supply chain, whether that's green bonds. There's a number of different areas where banks can help and advise Treasury in the ESG space.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your insights, Matthew.
Thank you.